Hello, my Teaserking family. Good morning. July 3rd, the third day of Basel 3. As we look at gold, 33.29, 33.30 going up. China had it at up to 33.60, and then at about 8:15, it went from 33.50 to 33.15. So you get the big derivative down. And then it shot back up, and then notice since it went up just before 10, the U.S. knocks it down, and now it's coming up. I don't know why it says market closed. July 4th, I assume it'll be closed tomorrow, but not now. Silver, though, is holding very sharply, 36.78. We got to get to 38, and then we get to 50. And I know how important that is to everybody. We've got the gold and we've got the silver, so we're just waiting for this move upwards. And so with Basel 3, you would think this would be happening very soon. We've got this BRICS summit happening the 6th and the 7th. All right. 33.30. Okay, so, Citibank wants it to go down to 30 to 2,500 because they just realized that they're about to lose billions of dollars in derivatives that they were stupid enough to short as gold was going up at 2,500, figuring, it'll hit 2,500 and come back down. Like a bunch of idiots, they didn't understand brics. They didn't understand new variables. This is why I talk about variables. They're very important to understand because this is the change that when you're looking at things, you're looking at New England and then Tom Brady goes to Tampa. Well, wait a minute. You can't just use the New England trends without Brady, and you can't use the Tampa trends before Brady. So you must be smart enough to see what's going on. Is everything the same or different? We saw it in the housing market, the 2007 and 2008 crisis. Not a crisis, just a bunch of idiots loaning out money to people that couldn't pay it back. Why would you do that? Because the government forced them to. But why didn't they not see the variables change? Oh, wait, interest rates went up. Therefore, these people can't afford them. Therefore, they're going to default on their mortgages. Therefore, that. Oh, mortgages is the safest investment. It was until they changed the law and made it where anybody could get a loan. That now made it not the best investment anymore. The U.S. dollar was the world reserve currency. It was the best. It was the petrodollar. It was the FX conversion. Country A wanted to trade to country B, had to buy U.S. dollars and then sell them to country B for their dollars. That's changed. It's gone. BRICS is China's trading with Brazil. Russia's trading with China. Russia's trading with Iran. All these countries are trading with each other, not using the dollar. Petrodollar is gone. Don't worry, petrodollar. Anybody can buy Saudi oil. They don't care as long as you have money. They'll just convert it. The way they're converting it's wrong because how do you get the Chinese yuan at 7 to 1 to the U.S.? How do you get the ruble at 78 to the U.S.? Where are you getting that from? That's the problem, right? So that's all phony anyway. But you've lost so all those dollars are coming back, which creates massive inflation because it's the money printed. If the money is printed where it's for the petrodollar and people have to buy it, you're forcing them to buy it, then it's still inflation because you're printing so much of it. You really should be off of gold and just raise the gold price. You don't have to keep gold $35. You can make gold $100. You can change it. It's whatever, as long as the money's backed by gold. And so that's what happens. But you must understand variables. What's creating this? That's why the 60s Packers, they were the best team. They won 3 straight championships. And I love how people say, well, they haven't won. Nobody's won 3 straight Super Bowls. They won 3 straight championships, morons. I mean, it's so stupid. They can't help it that there was no Super Bowl in 65. But they did win the championship, as they did in 66 and 67. And most can argue the championship was played against Dallas, not in the Super Bowl, because those teams were just not close to Green Bay. So you can argue those points, but they had won 3 in a row. But then the variable changed. Lombardi retires. Why? I'm not sure. He retires. I think he's like me. You need your downtime. I need my downtime. I think so hard and analyze that, like after class, I need a nap. I need to recharge my battery. People don't get that at work. When you're just tired, you just want to go to the break room and watch the stock ticker and have a coffee. You're recharging, so you're ready to go. But people don't get that. My back. And so you must be cognizant of when variables change. And once they change, then you take that going forward. So the Packers changed. Lombardi left. The Steelers changed mostly after the 1979 Super Bowl. Well, they won 79, and the 78-79 season they won. So call it the 1980 79. Well, it's the 80 Super Bowl. It's kind of confusing because Oakland beats Philly, and I think was the 80 Super Bowl because the Niners won the 81 Super Bowl. Anyway, what changed? Well, Joe Green retired, and Mike Wagner retired. You still had a bunch of them. The rules started to change. They lost a playoff game to Dan Fouts because he threw all over him. Bradshaw then hurts his wrist, and that was the end of him. The problem was they couldn't replace Joe Green or Mike Wagner. Andy Russell was tough. You still had Ham and Lambert, but you just didn't have that Joe Green presence on the defensive line. And then on offense, you still had Swan and Stallworth. You still had Franco. You still had most of it. But when you lost Bradshaw, they couldn't replace him. So the key is you got to be able to replace the part. That's why Dallas and Oakland were so good for so many years in the 60s, 70s, because Dallas could replace Don Meredith with Roger Staubach, and Oakland was able to replace Darryl LaMonica with Snake Stabler, and that allowed them to keep going, and that's why they were good most of the 60s, and they won the 76 Super Bowl, and then they replaced Stabler with Plunkett, which was okay, and Al Davis had a good eye to get talent, and when Biletnikoff retired, and Branch retired, they had Warren Wells, and they went to Cliff Branch. Then they went to they basically went to Marcus Allen and won some more Super Bowls in the early 80s when they beat Washington. But that's the key to it, right? So you're good, and then why are you no good? You get injuries. Why did the Steelers not win in 76? Injuries to Franco and Blyer. Why did the Packers not win in '63? Because Paul Hornung was out for gambling. So that was, you got to replace that. And those are variables. And that's sports. When we're looking at the markets, again, you must keep an eye on the variables with the newest variable. So the housing market switches, and in 1997, thanks to Clinton saying, anybody who wants a loan, you got to give it to them, which was ridiculous. Well, this guy can't pay me back. Then you had girls buying 4 or 5 houses as investments. Oh, houses aren't investments. They're not stocks. So then they went, and there goes 5 houses. And then the Wall Street firms like Attack on Wall Street and the margin guy, Die Hard 3 guy, they go and they just wipe out the contracts. We're going to sell them and just wipe them out. So everybody holding this real estate trust gets screwed. So now the banks are screwing people because they're not paying their mortgages because you gave loans to people that couldn't afford them. You've changed the variable. And so now we're at, why is gold so high? We've changed the variable. Brics is now buying the shit out of gold. And this is where I have a problem with Alligator and Egon about, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down. You can say that about Coca-Cola, and you can say that about Oreo cookies, but you can't say it about gold. Part of it is going up, but most of it's going up because demand, because the variables change, because all the BRICS countries are buying the shit out of gold. That's the variable that changed. That's why it's so expensive. That's why when people say, well, should I buy now? And I go, hell yes. You have no option. Then you have this with the petrodollar going away and the FX going away, where countries don't need the dollar to buy the other country. And now you've done sanctions. How is that variable fucked everything up? Nobody wants to play with you. So now you got a dollar that you can't sell bonds and get money for, which means you can't run your country. You're broke. So this is gone. So we're all Americans holding, you got 400 or 500 grand in the bank or in the stocks, you're fucked. Now, is that why Bitcoin's going up? Could be. People are stupid. They don't know what's going on. Somebody says, buy Bitcoin. Look, it's 100,000 and you buy it. Okay, let's look at it. What's it backed by? Nothing. Can you see it? No. What is it? Nobody knows. No, it's not a coin. It's a digital something on the computer. Why is it worth so much? Don't know. What makes the value go up? Don't know. What makes the value go down? Don't know. I assume people selling it. I don't know. Now you got Larry Fink and the Russians involved. Do you want to play with them? Probably not. It's phony, but people are in it because they get out of the dollar, but they should be in gold because gold and silver are the only lifeboats. Again, the variable changed. BRICS is now buying gold. The dollar is now collapsed. The U.S. is bankrupt, but nobody knows it. And so everybody doesn't get the new variable has changed, that BRICS has come in. And BRICS in China is like, no, you can't slap tariffs on us. They're not buying our soybeans. They're not buying our meat. So we're losing a lot of money. So in other words, if we're running a fruit market and we got these Chinese buyers coming in every week buying $1,000 worth of watermelon, let's say, or fruit. And so we start factoring that in. Oh, we're going to buy, the Chinese are going to come in every Monday and we need at least $1,000 worth of produce. I mean, we could call it $1 million, but just to keep it simple. And then all of a sudden they stop coming in. Well, wait a minute. I got all this inventory of fruit that I know the Chinese want to buy, but they're not coming in anymore. Now I'm screwed. Well, that's exactly what happened with the chips and the meat and the soybeans and Apple and a few others. The Chinese aren't buying them anymore. Wait a minute. We got all this based on the Chinese buying them, and they're not. So that's another variable that's changed, and Trump's bullying is not the right way to do it. You don't treat people like that. You want free trade. You don't want tariffs. I get what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to go back into the 1800s where we didn't have income tax. Income tax didn't come in until 1913 when the Fed came in, brought in by J.P. Morgan. Then you had two wars, and he sold weapons to both sides. Not a good man, this J.P. Morgan. He likes monopolies, so he's more of a communist than a free trader. And communists like monopoly. They can't handle competition. So this is the problem. So Trump's trying to go back where, okay, I'll eliminate income tax and probably go back to gold, and then probably go back to, we'll tariff. But again, the government was very small. The gold made the money sound, and you didn't have the big growth in all these, different countries buying and selling. You mostly bought and sold to yourself, right? If the farmers came up, cotton we sold to Britain, and there was other things we sold to other countries we could ship it to, but basically that's what happened. So he's trying to go back there, but now you can't do 145% tariffs. You are going to piss people off, and there's no trade variance at all, because you're trading goods for money for goods. So you're giving him money instead of tennis shoes. Okay, fine. That's balanced trade. So that's really what you have. And it's the variables changing. So when you look at, sports or whatever, you've got to look at the variables. So again, why is gold up? Because brics is buying, the dollar's losing value. Egon was asked this yesterday, well, if all this, why isn't gold up? And he did not understand the question and could not answer it. He says, well, gold's up. I think he said partly because of the demand and everything, but he missed it's because of this. This going down from 33.50 to 33.17 at about 8.15 is the reason gold's not going up. This derivative, this is an option. Nobody sold an ounce of gold knocking the price down $30. That's just bullshit. This is a fixed market. Now we're waiting for the variable to change, which is brics, which was Basel III, that gets rid of this shit. We want gold to be priced at whatever the market says it is. But they keep with these derivatives. Then they wonder why my Citibank's going broke when gold won't go down to 2,500. See, here's the point. They tried pushing gold down here, and it got to 33.17, and then it quickly went back to 33.38, and now it's 33.28. So it's quickly over 36.80. But it's see, even if they try to get it down, it shoots back up. So this is the problem. The variable of brics and now Basel III changed the gold silver price, and it should go up dramatically because they need physical. And that's what happens. And the people with the gold and the silver, China, Russia, and the brics, want it to go up. It'll go up. So it'll never go down because now there's different players in the game. And what Citi didn't understand are the new variables. They didn't understand brics. So they shorted at 2,500 the gold price on their options, but they don't realize, wait a minute, brics is involved wanting it to go up. Basel III's out there forcing you more physical, forcing the price up. And Citi doesn't understand what's going on. They're still playing the old game. Oh, COMEX breaks when people want delivery because it's a paper game. Right? It's not a real game, and it's not a physical game. So when that happens, people don't understand it. So that's what's going on. And this is, 33.27. So we're playing this game in the 33s like we did for the last 2 weeks in the 32s. 32.60, 32.80. We're dicking around in the 32s. Now we're dicking around in the 33s. The real price is probably 7,000 or 8,000, 10,000, something like that, if you got rid of it. And that's what we're hoping Basel III does. Next week, on the 6th and 7th, we now have brics in Brazil. coming out with the gold back currency. I believe it's already out. Well, we'll see what they say. But I think Trump is just too much of a bully, forcing, it's like me forcing you to buy, I don't know, a Canadian Club 12-year. You must buy it. You have to buy it. If you don't buy it, we're going to tariff you and da 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 da. You'll never buy it. But if I say it's a good and it's that, and if you like it, like I do with my football, like I tell you with gold and silver, it's a good buy. Here's why. My football, I give you my history so you can see that I know what I'm doing. Even though it's hard to believe sometimes when I say I go like 70, 75%, people don't believe it. And I'm like, well, I'm a critical thinker. I don't think like anybody else. And I've heard that from Melissa. She says, nobody thinks like you. And I says, I know, that's the point. Very analytical type of mind, but I see things differently than most people. All right. So 36.80 silver, 33.28 gold. Tomorrow's the holiday, so I'll be curious what happens. And then they're off for the weekend. So this will be curious. We've got Basel III in action. We've got brics next week in Brazil. So this will be a very curious next few weeks. Don't touch that bat channel. All right. Let's go to baseball. Good day yesterday. Let's see. Our first game is at 12:10. Jesus. Well, Miami lost, so there goes their 8-game winning streak. But we only lose one time with them. So the theory of the streak is you only lose once. So now that Miami's lost and they had won 8 in a row, we're off of them. Now they've lost 1 in a row. So we're not on Miami anymore. You just played until they lose. And so we played it. I don't know. I think Miami over is probably a good one here. They're laying 8. David Fiesta and Yuri Perez. This would be interesting. I don't know. Both bad pitchers. Probably go over 8 would be my guess. All right, let's go to yesterday. That's the 12-10 game. Then it's 3-10. So let me look at yesterday, and then we'll get back. All right. We start off with Washington over in game 1, and the Tigers win 11-2. That's a winner. We have Milwaukee under 8. And Milwaukee actually wins 7-2 with a home run late to go from 8-9, and we're under 8.5, so we lose that. Minnesota beats Miami 2-1, and so they lose. We've got Washington over 8 in game 2. They win 9-4 with a big, I think it was 8th inning. It was close, like it was 4-3. And then it ends 9-4 Washington. So I love it. So I hit both Washington overs yesterday. Toronto 11-9 over the Yankees. So Toronto's heating up. They're hitting the Yankees. They're now on an over streak. So we'll look for Toronto over. I did like the Yankees over 9. I didn't bet it though. But there you go. They 11-9 Toronto. Cincy beats Boston 8-4. We didn't play it. The Mets 7, Milwaukee 3. So we lose that game. Milwaukee in game 2. Jacob Mizorowski with his 1.8 ERA is now a 3.2 ERA. Again, not enough data. It only pitched in 3 or 4 games. Atlanta 8, California 3. The Cubs 5, Cleveland 4. Shohei Imanaga does get the win. Tanner Bibby gives up his 5 runs. Texas 6, Baltimore nothing. Nathan Eovaldi now throws a shutout, so he's getting more consistent. Tamayaka Shigunano for Baltimore gives up the 6 runs. Houston, Colorado, and Colorado. Houston 5, Colorado 3. Hunter Brown 9-3 with 0-8-2. That was our winner. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4-2, and we make 5 units because we had 3 units on Houston. Everything else was 2 units. So we did hit our biggest game, Hunter Brown. The 49ers beat Arizona 6-5, so they started to score. Seattle 3, KC 2. Okay, not scoring there. We didn't have it. We had Seattle over the night before, and then so this is why it's very much the pitching that we're looking for. And is the team like Toronto? Toronto's hitting now, so we're looking at them over. All right, so let us go to today. So I'm not playing the 12-10 game, Miami, Minnesota. It's in Miami. I like the game over, but I'm not going to play it. So I'm gonna put games I like, but I'm not gonna. If I circle them, it's a bet. So I'm not betting this, but I do like it over because you got 2 bad pitchers, and Miami, Minnesota hit pretty well. Houston, Colorado. Now I didn't bet Houston because I bet Houston. I bet Houston because of Hunter Brown and his 1.8 ERA is why we bet Houston. So we're really betting the pitchers, and then basing it on does the team hit or not. Houston minus 211. Brandon Walter 1-1 with the 3.34 against Kyle Freeland 1-9 with the 5.56. Again, we're not betting Houston because they won yesterday. Do we like the pitcher and do we not like Kyle Freeland? Houston's a 200 favorite and an 11. And let me say this. This is Brandon Walter for Houston's pitched in 5 games. And he goes about 6 innings a game. Had a shutout, gave up 2, gave up 1, gave up 7, gave up 1. Gave up 7 to California. Most of his games are pretty low scoring, although the last 2 have been high scoring. Not really enough data. There's 5 games. What do you do with it? He did pitch in 2003 for Boston in 9 games, and now at the 5 games with Houston. So I don't really have enough information. I see the 7's probably an outlier, but I'm not going to mess with it. Colorado, 11. You don't know which Brandon Walter you're getting. Kyle Freeland, 1-9 with the 5.56. You just leave this game alone. Maybe you go over at a 8 or 9, but not at 11. I know Colorado's in a softball stadium. Detroit at Washington. Dietrich Enns, who pitched his first game at 34 years old. Well, where do they find these guys? 1-0 with a 0 ERA, pitched like 5 shutout innings because they didn't know how he pitched. Now they have tape on him and they can say, oh, he throws this pitch and that pitch. And it was in Detroit. Jake Irvin, 6-3 with the 4.73. Total of 9.5. I'm not buying Dietrich Enns. He could be Paul Scanes, but he's 34 years old, so I don't think he's Paul Scanes. I think it's just a fluke. He had a good game, first game at home, and the matchup here, Washington hit the shit out of Detroit yesterday. Detroit had a good first game. This is why I think Detroit's stealing signs. When the weak hitters are hitting the ball, they've got to know the curveball is coming. Mostly Happy Baez, the shortstop, who struck out on sliders away all year last year, and now he's not. So does he know the slider away is coming and he lays off of it? Yeah, I'm sure that's it. That's the clue. Why isn't he swinging at that pitch? Because he knows it's coming. They're definitely stealing signs, and the guy did it at Houston. So you can argue, oh, they're not, and that's why they're in first place. That's why they're in first place, because you got everybody and their mother hitting 270. So I'm going to take Detroit over for that exact reason. It's 9.5. I'll go 2 units. I'm not buying this Dietrich Enns. I don't buy 34-year-olds what is he? Is he the natural? Robert Redford, or what was his name? Roy Hobbs. Is he Roy Hobbs? All of a sudden he found it at 34. He got shot on a train when he was 20, and now he's just waking up. Jake Irvin, 6-3 with the 4.73. So Detroit should hit him regardless. But I'm not buying Dietrich Enns is going to shut out Washington after they put up some pretty good runs yesterday. Now, Detroit's big into this winning a series thing, which is a joke. Sounds like the Lions a little bit. They have to do it with smoke and mirrors. They can't do it on talent. So they'll try to win the series, whatever. We don't care about that. We care about scoring runs. Now, they should handle this guy for 5-6 runs. But I think Washington will hit this 34-year-old. The Yanks at Toronto. Clarky Schmidt, 4-4 at the 309. Chris Bassett, 7-4 at the 429. Yankees are 125, 8.5. We're going Toronto over. So Toronto's on a little bit of a streak now. So the Yankees under lost yesterday. The Yankees over won. Yankees under lost. So that's 3 games for Toronto. I'll have to go back into their stats, but at least 3 in a row. That's a streak. Toronto's hitting well. They're at home, and they're hitting the shit out of the Yankees. Clark Smith's okay, 4-4 at the 309. Bassett's pretty good, 7-4 with the 429. Yankees are starting to hit now. Toronto is hitting. So we're going to go Toronto over 8.5, and we'll go 2 units. But that's what we're looking for. When you got 162 games, you get a lot of streaks. And that's how you have to bet baseball, I'm convinced. When my uncle showed me about streaks, he had a 2-headed quarter, but then he changed to a regular quarter, and we did 50. He did 50 flips, so it should be 25 heads, 25 tails, and yet there was 10 heads in a row or 10 tails in a row, and at the end of the day, it was 25-25. But in the middle, going to get the 25-25 was 10 heads and 10 tails, and that's the point of streaks. At the end of the day, your analytics will tell you X, but it's getting there. That's Y. And so therefore, you've got to look at this going now Toronto's hitting, and Toronto will not hit. The Yankees didn't hit for 3 weeks. We cleaned up on them going under. Now they're starting to hit. Toronto's been hitting, so now we switch to over because that's what the streak's telling us to do. So you follow the streak. I was talking to my buddy from Florida, the one who doesn't understand gold, and he's, he likes the Lions and the Tigers and everything, and Tom Brady. So we're talking about the Tigers, and in game 2, they were up 4-3, and he brings in this pitcher with a high IQ, with a high ERA, and he gives up 6 runs. I don't know. Some guy hit it 4 runs. I think he had a bases loaded double or something. I thought he hit a grand slam, but I didn't see the home run. So it must have been something like that. Anyway, so he gives up 6 runs, and he's going, I can't believe the manager left him in there. And why did he bring in? He kept bringing in these guys with low ERAs to pitch 1 inning. But when in the 8th inning, he brought in this guy with a high ERA, and he kept him in until he gave up 6 runs. And my response was, the manager's an idiot. This is analytics, and they're really smoke and mirrors, because the guy who comes in to relieve the 1 inning was in for specific batters. He's a lefty facing lefties, or he's a righty facing the bottom of the order. Your better pitcher, you want to face the 2, 3, 4 hitters. So he's kind of sneaky on that. He'll put in a guy, and he pitches to the 6, 7, 8 hitters, and then he takes him out because he's really not that good, but he puts him in against that. Why not just leave the starter in or whatever? It was bullpen day or something. Anyway, so in the 8th inning, the guy with the high ERA comes in, gives up 6 runs, they lose the game. He's bitching that they lost, and I'm going, that's why they lost. He's using analytics. Well, the lefty against the lefty, the righty against the righty, which has been proven it doesn't work countless times. Otherwise, they would have brought lefties in to face Barry Bonds and Reggie Jackson, and that didn't work. It really doesn't work. The ball comes over the plate. It doesn't matter if it's a righty or a lefty throwing it. Either you can hit the ball or you can't. And that's the bottom line. So so the Tigers keep playing these stupid games. Skubal will be having a shutout, but he pitched 85 pitches in the sixth inning, and they'll take him out. Well, I thought 100 was the magic number, because that's what analytics says. After 100, the guys get hurt, which is bullshit. Or you can't pitch to the guys 3 times through the lineup, which is also bullshit. Nolan Ryan didn't seem to have problems, nor Bob Gibson or Koufax or Roger Clemens or Jack Morris. They didn't seem to have problems with going through the lineup the third time. So the guys who sucked might have problems. Oh, okay, but you're not differentiating that. All right. So we are going Toronto over. Okay, so now we got Milwaukee and the Mets. The Jets, Mets. The Mets for minus 155 and 8. Jose Quintana, 6-2 with a 3.30 from Milwaukee. David Peterson, 5-4 with a 3.30. Also, kind of let us down. Too much hitting in this game. The Milwaukee can really hit. Total of 8. This is a game I got to watch because I want to bet this over. But I've got 2 decent pitchers with 3 ERAs that could turn around, throw the shutout. And that's what you got to realize. It's an average, so they could pitch really hot. They are capable of shutting out. You just don't know when. That's why you like going against a bad pitcher who sucks with the team that can hit. They're going to score a lot. California and Atlanta. Atlanta came back to win. California was up. Atlanta minus 159. They're getting healthy. Jose Soriano, 5-5 with a 3.92. Bryce Elder, 2-5 with a 5.82. Let's see. California has only 1 hitter, and Atlanta has 3 hitters, but they might have 4 now that this one guy came back. Not a big hitting. California can't hit. They probably will hit Bryce Elder, 2-5 with a 5.82. I'm going to have to pass on this. I just don't like it. California had a big lead, and then they blew it, so they don't have a bullpen. So if anything, I probably would go over, but I don't see the hitting on California to do that. It's amazing is California's got a better record, 42-43, and Atlanta's 39-46. Unbelievable. Cleveland against the Bears. Chicago 145, 8.5. Joey Cantillo, 1-0 with a 3.81. Cade Horton for the Bears, 3-2 with a 4.80. Cleveland's always kind of they can score. They tend to have a good bullpen. The Cubbies can hit. The Cubbies have 5 hitters. Cleveland has only 2 hitters, maybe 3. See, it ebbs and flows. One time when I look at it, the guys are hitting 270, and a week later they're hitting 230. That's how fast some of them drop. The ones that play every day don't drop that drastically, but that's what switches now. All of a sudden, maybe it was a 260 hitter, now he's hitting 240. Well, I won't include him. So that's what you got here. Not great pitching. I'm always leery because Cleveland usually has a good bullpen, and I really hate to if it gets there. So I'm going to mark Cubs over 8.5, but I'm not going to play them. I just got to respect Cleveland. All right, San Francisco at Arizona. 49ers won yesterday. 49ers are favored today, 128.5. Robbie Ray, he just pitch 8-3 with the 2.75 against Brandon Pfaadt, 8-5 with the 5.38. I can see why the 49ers. Brandon Pfaadt's terrible. The Niners don't score that much. Robbie Ray, I'm going to take the 49ers here. just for 2 units, just the pitching matchup. And they did win yesterday, and they're starting to hit. Normally, I'm scared of Arizona's offense, but I think Robbie Ray's a lefty will keep it in check. We'll see. The White Sox and the Dodgers won yesterday. White Sox had the lead, I thought. The Dodgers minus 309. Aaron Chevalier for the White Sox, 1-4 with the 4.4, and Dusty May, 4-5 with the 4.68. So this is going to be an over. Let's go over with the Dodgers. Over 9 and 2 units. In our last game's KC Seattle. We hit the over 2 nights ago. We didn't play it yesterday. It was low scoring, and so we have nothing. KC's a 102 favorite. What does that mean? KC's, I don't know. KC's favored 7.5. Seattle 45 wins. KC 40 wins. Seth Lugo 5-5 with the 2.74, and Ric Flair, Brian Wu 7-4 with the 2.93. This game we will play Seattle under 7.5. And this will be our 3-star of the day. Seth Lugo, 2.74, very good pitcher. You can't look at the record because these teams don't hit. So look at Paul Scanes. He's certainly not a 4-7 pitcher with his 1.9 ERA. He just isn't getting run support. Ric Flair, Brian Wu, 7-4 with the 2.93. So you got both pitchers under 3, and both teams don't hit. KC's got 5 hitters, and Seattle's got 6. But it was a very low-scoring game yesterday. So let's go through the picks. We got Washington over 9.5, 2 units. Toronto over 8.5 because they're hot, 2 units. And the Yankees are starting to wake up. We got the 49ers, 2 units. We got the Dodgers over 9, 2 units. And Seattle under 7.5, 3 units. It's like college football. All we got a 9.40 bet and 2 10-10 bets. So those 3 are late. So Washington over 9.5, Toronto over 8.5 are the early games. And that is baseball. Let's check any news in the NFL. I don't care what they say about Yahoo Sports on the 25 power rankings. I don't know how you come up with it. I like my rankings better, which is basically, are they A teams, B teams, over or under, or W or Z? If you're A team, you're the best, and if you're Z, you're the worst. So, of course, you don't need anybody to tell you the A teams are Buffalo and Baltimore and Kansas City and Denver, San Diego, maybe. Cincinnati is more of an over team. Unless their defense comes, then they'll be an A team. In the NFC, it's Philadelphia, Washington, and Atlanta are the A teams. Detroit, they lost their center. They lost their coordinators. We'll see. Minnesota is not going to do well with McCarthy. Green Bay, I'm not sold on Jordan Love. They needed more defense they didn't get, and the Bears are probably the worst team there. I think the Rams could be an A team, as the Niners could be an A team over there. Seattle will be a Z. So I think that's basically what it is. Tampa is probably a B team. What's a B team? Well, not as good as an A team, but a good team. A's and B's are teams that have good quarterbacks, they score, and they have a good defense. But if they don't score as much, they go from A to B. So if they score 24 a game, they're maybe a B team. If they score 30 a game, they're an A team. And really what you're looking at is you want to bet those. Those are the teams to bet. We tried doing it in baseball, but the pitcher changes every day, and then the bullpen comes in. So it's very difficult to go with it. Trying to get a handle on it, it's very difficult to say, oh, well, if the Tigers pitch Scoobo, they're an A team. But if they pitch, Joe Flaherty, they're a Z team. So you just kind of have to go by pitcher. So that's kind of what I'm doing is if I see Max Fried or Scanes or School will pitch, they're an A team that day. Good defense. You're not going to hit them. Play them under if there's another decent pitcher, or take them. Just play Scanes, Fried, or School if they're playing a weak pitcher. So I'm kind of doing that in baseball. The problem is, I know I got Mahomes the whole game and Burrow the whole game. I can't believe I forgot Burrow the other day. The whole game, right? They're not pulling Mahomes in the fourth quarter because he threw 40 passes and he's got to rest his arm. And that's what it's funny how they can throw a football 50 times in a game. No pitch count there. But in baseball, oh my God, 90 pitches, we got to get him out. He made it. He survived. I mean, it's really stupid. But that's what you have. So that's kind of what I'm doing is I'm raking the starters A through Z. So the guy who is 1-7 with a 6 ERA, he's a Z pitcher, and I'm betting against him. Or if they're 2Z, like in the game today, what was the over? Toronto and New York. Well, no, it was the Dodgers, I think, or the Cubs. I don't know. There was one where there was like a 5 ERA going against a 5 ERA. I count them both as Z pitchers, but over pitchers. So if they're playing each other, we just go over. If we're playing Skubal against a guy with a 6 ERA, we're going to bet on Skubal. And it's as simple as that. And it goes back to my football rating. I'm rating the team an A because their ace is on the mound. It's when we got incomplete data, we don't know what's going on. What do we do with the guy's pitched 3 games? Oh, well, I can't think I need 10 starts from him. That's why I like when a guy's like 5-4 with the 2 ERA, I know his ERA is true. If he's 2-1 with the 2 ERA, I don't know what I have yet. I don't know how good he is. Once they get tape on the guy, they know how to hit him. That's my fear with the Tiger guy. I got 1 game on a 34-year-old. I don't have enough information. He's not throwing a shutout again at Washington. So you're kind of looking at it from that standpoint. You've got to be careful. All right, let's see. Any other football news? Jets cornerback Sauce Gardner says Justin Fields has been making Aaron Rodgers level. All bullshit. How good was Aaron Rodgers with his Achilles, right? Nothing really. Steelers, Dolphins switched. Darren Waller coming out of retirement. Where the hell? I didn't know he retired. Coming out of retirement, traded to Miami. Why would he come out of retirement from Miami? All right. I got to read this one. I'm 67 with 1.5 million. This is an ad. Every year, retirees over 70 are forced to pull money from their retirement accounts even if they don't need it. But there are little-known strategies that wealthy use legally to shrink their. I don't know what an RMD is. All right, so not much in the NFL. Let's go to my YouTube. How the Bernie Madoff family stole $65 billion and destroyed all their lives. They did a Ponzi scheme. I don't get what the question is here. We know how they did it. We know it was a Ponzi scheme. So I'll watch that later. Russia ramps up offensive. Ukraine scrambled since losing U.S. aid. So I think this war is just about over. We have the U.S. not giving them any military support anymore because we don't have any weapons to give them. And I doubt any of the other countries do. So I would say the war is over. There was a parallel of Zelensky and Hitler. I was watching this Great Escape. There's the movie with Steve McQueen, but then this was like something else on Tubi. And it was like a little bit more of what happened. And one of the Nazis went to Christopher Reeve. Superman was the star in the movie, and said, "We got to stop Hitler. He will keep going, even though we've lost. He'll keep going until everybody's gone, till we don't have anybody and no more people left. So he won't surrender. He's just going to keep going and losing. It's like playing chess, right? You realize in the chess game you've lost, and you just you just drop your king and you resign. It's like, yeah, I can't win, but instead of playing the whole game out, I'm going to resign. And that's what Hitler, even though the game was over, wouldn't resign. He kept playing until they took his king. And that's what Zelensky's doing. He has clearly lost, but he keeps playing the game because he's laundering money, because we keep giving him money, and he's selling weapons right and left, putting it into his bank account. And he realizes when the war ends, he loses power. They'll probably kill him. And so he's trying to keep the war going so he can keep laundering money. So in that instance where neither of them will resign their king, they just keep playing. I was watching The Art of War, very good video. I highly recommend. And excellent video. It's how you win wars, and it's good for everyday life, women, gambling, everything. It's in a war. When do you attack? They were going through World War II, landing on the beaches. There was a lot of false information. A lot of spies were used to give bad information that we were going to land on Calais instead of where we landed. It shows mistakes Hitler made. Hitler didn't designate. He didn't, give power to other people underneath him. Didn't delegate. And that was a big mistake because he's the one that had to say, do this or do that. Deception's very good. Spies are very good. So you want to know what people are saying or doing. And that's what you got to use. And that's what you got to be careful about in everyday life. At work, you got to be careful of spies. People can't wait to get you out of there and to lie about certain things. When I was let go at Tenneco, I said, "What's going on?" "Well, we're eliminating the position." "What? Why would you do that? You just brought me in." "Is there a problem?" They said no, and I didn't believe them. But I don't know what it is. Now, did somebody say Howard said this or that? I don't know. I couldn't get that answer, and I really didn't do anything but tell people to buy gold and silver when I was in the lunchroom. But that's what you got to be careful of now, more than before. I don't think before at work you could pretty much say, "Oh, I don't like him or her," and yeah, I agree. You know who you could trust. And I find that you can't trust anybody anymore at work. They're all screwed mentality, tell on people. Very, very communistic. Anyway, so it's Sun Tzu. He was a Chinese general, I believe, or Japanese general. And the best way to fight a war is not to fight. And if you're outnumbered, what he would do is just go after your weakness. And that's where it goes into football, and that's where it goes into everything. You attack weakness, you avoid strength. This is how we bet. This is how I came up with my whole strategy for football and what I'm trying to do with baseball. That's why I rank the teams. If they're a bad team, Carolina, Jacksonville, Tennessee, they're Z teams. I want to bet against them. And that's the whole art of war. You're trying to take advantage of weakness. That's where you can win. That's what most teams do, is take advantage of weakness and avoid strength. So that's why on fourth down, when they run up the middle, I just shake my head, because why are you running into the line? That's their strength. Find their weakness, find their strength. What does the offense do so well? That's where you get the Bush tush and for Philadelphia, and that's why it should be eliminated, because it's not football. It's rugby. It's ridiculous. Keep to the rules. You got to get it on your own. You can't get pushed for a yard. It's very stupid. It doesn't add anything to the game. So that is their strength. That's what they're going to do. And I think the way I would do it is I would line up the way they're lined up, with two linebackers behind, because a lot of the times Philadelphia doesn't get the first down on the first push. It's the fullback and the guard who's behind pushing the quarterback over. That's the key. It's them pushing them over. So if I have two linebackers behind my defensive lineman, so when the linemen go in, then my linebackers meet the blockers pushing Hurts over, I might have a chance that way. But anyway, that's you must stop their strength and attack their weakness. That's what sports, that's what girls, that's what gold is. Gold is attacking the weakness. The dollar's gone, it's weak, and buying gold, which is our strength. So we're into the strength with gold and silver. Probably the easiest way I could explain it. The dollar's weak because they keep printing it. It's not worth anything. That's the weakness. So you get out of the weakness and go to the strength, which would be the lifeboat of gold and silver. That's the strength, because they can't print it. They can't inflate gold and silver. So it can't lose its value. And as long as there's demand there, the price will go up. Now, there's more demand for gold than silver, but that's what it is. So when Egon says, oh, why isn't gold going up? Well, it's very simple. I'll play that again. Trump goes nuts. Is Japan, U.S. bonds rejected by Japan? Let's play a little of that.
So this is my dad's Toyota Prius, and today we're going to modify it without telling him. Yes, I said it right. We're going to modify.
Nobody cares.
Global markets. This trade, the extreme tradition. 35%. That is the drop in net profit facing Toyota, Japan's industrial powerhouse. This amounts to a staggering $21.6 billion wiped off its balance sheet, a deadly blow inflicted by a 24% tariff from its closest ally, the United States. To understand the brutal nature of Washington's demands, we first need to look at Japan's current situation. So, the Japanese economy is showing signs of decline. GDP shrank by 0.2% in the first quarter of the year. Though it was better than expected, it's still a clear admission that the economy is heading downhill. Domestic demand is faltering, the population is aging, and a decade of near zero interest rates has drained the life from what was once a legendary economic engine. Toyota, Japan's industrial symbol, has been forced to issue a grim forecast. Net profits could fall by as much as 35%, losing around $21.6 billion. The direct cause? A 24% tariff on cars, mercilessly imposed by the Trump administration. These aren't just numbers. They represent a direct attack on Japan's industrial sector, threatening the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of workers and countless suppliers. While Japan struggles, Washington has offered a solution that's anything but promising. The U.S. Treasury's official currency report didn't hesitate to instruct the Bank of Japan, BOJ, to tighten its monetary policy and reverse the yen's weakness. Even though Japan is already in a recession, anyone with basic economic knowledge knows this demand is absurd. Japan's debt-to-GDP ratio has reached a staggering 261.3%, the highest among developed countries, according to the IMF. Raising interest rates suddenly would be a fatal blow, triggering a debt crisis the BOJ has spent a decade trying to manage. If Japan defaults on its debt, the bond market would collapse, plunging companies and banks into bankruptcy, suffocating the economy until it's utterly drained. Washington's policymakers aren't stupid. They know the consequences. And precisely because they know, their actions turn into extortion. The hidden message behind their diplomatic language is crystal clear. Destroy your economy. Either you do it yourself or we'll force you, and it will hurt a lot more. This is the desperate act of a debtor in agony. The U.S. economy is facing a severe debt crisis. America's trade position is collapsing as the U.S. needs to sell $22 billion in long-term debt to cover its national debt, while investors are turning their backs on the U.S. itself. Meanwhile,
so 22 billion is our expenses that we don't have the money to cover. 22 billion. And you wonder why I run around saying buy gold and that the dollar has no value. If the dollar had value, we wouldn't be 22 billion short. So we are short. Like in the Great Escape, they were short 30 feet of rope because the hole was in the open, not to the trees. And that's what you have here. They need to sell T-bills, 22 billion, and then they use that money for their expenses, and they can't do it. That's why the government is gone, because you can't afford to pay them all. You got the debt coming up, the 37 trillion. You got interest coming up on that, and you've got all this defense contractor. That's why they're stopping giving weapons to the Ukraine. They don't have them. They need money to rebuild them, and they don't have the money to give to the Defense Department to rebuild it. So there's too much spending going on and not enough income coming in. And what Japan's going to do is just go somewhere else. They'll keep building, but they just won't sell to the U.S. where we got tariffs. They're going to a different place, which you're going to hear. So that's what's going on. We can't cover our expenses.
Washington is trying to save itself by forcing Tokyo to undermine its export advantage, all to make American goods more competitive. Demanding a stronger yen is a crude, selfish tactic to solve America's problems. It would make Japanese goods, especially cars, more expensive, while making American-made cars cheaper by comparison. In other words, Washington is trying to export its own problems, forcing Japan to pay for America's weaknesses. For decades, Japan has been a compliant ally, a silent partner, but it seems the line has been crossed this time. Instead of meekly following America's demands, Tokyo is quietly drawing its samurai sword. They're not declaring war loudly. They're executing a strategic counterattack, playing a long game. Their main weapon is the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, an ironic name since this is the very trade legacy the U.S. initiated and then abandoned without hesitation. Now, Japan is turning America's discarded weapon into a tool to challenge its dominance. They're transforming the CPTP into an alternative economic power center, where the rules are written by Tokyo and its partners, not Washington. Tokyo is seriously considering inviting China and Taiwan to join. This is a direct challenge to Washington, a longtime rival of China. It shows that Japan is ready to define its own rules and alliances in the region, regardless of America's discomfort. This isn't just about tariffs anymore. It's about Japan's ambition to redraw the strategic map of the Pacific. While Japan is building a new world, the foundation of the old one, the absolute trust in the U.S. financial system, is cracking. America's extortionate behavior is not only immoral, but it's also a confession of weakness, and the whole world is watching. The clearest evidence of this.
If you're forgetting simple things and mixing up names, you need to know the elephant trick. It brought my memory back.
The clearest evidence of this is seen in U.S. Treasury bond auctions. For decades, U.S. bonds were considered the safest asset in the world. But that label is now a joke. Global sentiment toward America's long-term debt is collapsing faster than Washington can adjust its fiscal forecasts. The Wall Street Journal reported that 30-year Treasury yields surged to 5.12%. the highest level since 2011, signaling that inflation may be reaching alarming levels. Traders are now calling this a silent boycott by foreign institutions. And leading this boycott are Japan's pension funds and financial institutions, once the most loyal customers. They're dumping us bonds and moving money into euro-denominated assets to escape the volatility of the dollar
gold
and the uncertainty of U.S. policy. They no longer believe that the meager yields can offset the risks posed by a government that's spending like an addict, with a projected deficit of $2.6 trillion and no political will to tighten its.
So they're buying gold. I don't know why you call it European assets. Call it what it is. So again, Japan, China, most of the world's dumping the dollar because we are in debt and we are bankrupt. How long is this going to last? So don't look at me. Don't listen to anybody. Just watch what's going on. Why is Japan dumping treasuries and buying gold? Why is China doing it? Why are all the BRICS countries doing it? And that's because they sanction Russia and they're all afraid they're going to lose their money. So they don't trust the U.S. anymore. Trump's just being a bully. Bankrupt yourself. What kind of crap is that? He's not working with them. He's trying to tell them what to do. And we all don't want to be told what to do. We all want to make our own decisions. So that's a big part of it. So Japan's telling us to fuck off. That shows a sign that the dollar is done. And therefore, the Titanic is 90% in the Atlantic. You better get the hell off the boat, and you only can get into the gold and silver lifeboats. So that's about as close as I can tell you to what the heck's really happening. So anyway, that's that one. Let's see what else we have. Four signs someone is doing witchcraft on you. I'm not going to show you that one. All right, here's we'll watch Egon again. Why isn't gold much higher? 5 minutes.
War in Ukraine. No, many investors are asking why gold isn't going up more than it is. We have wars in Iran, the Middle East, we have war in Ukraine, and we have massive deficits and debts, and the geopolitical situation combined with the political situation is worse than it's been for many decades and maybe even centuries. The debt is of a proportion that worldwide that has never occurred before in history. So especially with these wars, investors are asking why isn't gold going up? But what you have to understand is that gold is not going up because of temporary happenings in the world. That's a war or whether it's a political problem in the US or in Europe. Gold goes up because paper money is being destroyed continuously by central banks and by banks also by issuing and leveraging more and more debt and credit to the consumer and to companies. So gold is not reflecting short-term situations in the market, such as an attack on Iran or a war in Ukraine. No, gold is reflecting the destruction of paper money. It's so simple. You know, these short-term events, they have a very, very short effect. You could look at, for example, 9/11. Gold went up temporarily and then it went down again. And it's the same now. We've had bigger bombs than ever dropped on Iran in the last 10 days, and gold hasn't gone up. It's actually come down a bit. So you must understand that this is not the right way to look at gold. It is not a crisis investment. It is an investment that protects your wealth against central banks and governments' destruction of paper money by issuing more and more credit. In front of me here, a long-term graph.
Okay, so here is my comment. Here's my comment. COMEX price fixing is the answer why gold and silver aren't going up. Yes, inflation, the money printing creates the demand, but it's COMEX price fixing as why it's not. And he doesn't answer that way. I'm kind of shocked. So he's saying, well, you know, it's not doing anything. And it's purely, I mean, let's take a look at it now. All right, it's 33.29. So clearly the options and the price fixing at what, 8.15, it made it go from 33.48 to 33. It went down $30. It's because of the price fixing. That's why it went down, because this is not free market. Which, as I said, free market is I'm going to sell you something and you buy it in the market. It's me and you, and it's determined by what price we negotiate that we're both comfortable. That's what a fair trade is. I got my Canadian club and I want $50 for it. You go, oh no, it's I'm going to give you 40. And then we probably settle at 45 and I go, here's your bottle and give me the money. Or if I want 100 and you only want to give me 50, we don't make the trade. It's not a fair trade for you because you don't think it's worth 100, but I do. So we come to an agreement at what price are we both happy at. If it's too low, I'm not happy. If it's too high, you're not happy. So we need this equilibrium. That's not what we have in gold. This is bullshit. Now we're going up to 33.30. We're silver at 36.80, but this is bullshit. This came down $30 for absolutely no reason because JP Morgan decided to do a short. They're trying to do an option. That is why gold's not up. Gold should be, I'm telling you, it should be $20,000 an ounce. This is my point. If you got rid of this option bullshit and left it to the market, hey, I got an ounce of gold. What will you give me? And you're going to give me, $5,000 for it. I mean, okay. What do I want for it? And we have real buy and sell. Then we got a real price, but that's not what we have. We got some idiot doing shorting it, and then cities wondering why they're going bankrupt because they ran shorts on gold at 2,500, and now we're at 33.30, wondering, well, shit, we're going to lose all our money, as is most of these banks doing these short derivatives, and then they're going to have to, with Basel III, whoever did that short at 8 o'clock is going to have to cover it. If China said, hey, I want to take delivery of that option, of the gold in that option, so I'm going to buy that option, I want to take delivery. Now they're going to have to send them the gold, which they can't do because they don't have it. So keep that in mind. All right.
Here, a long-term graph of gold in US dollars. You look at from 1971 to 1980, gold went from $35 to $850. So that's a long period, 9 years, and it went basically straight up with a couple of corrections, one bigger one, but still, corrections are part of the game. And then we had a 20-year correction down to 250. And now since 2001 or 2, gold has basically gone up again in a straight line. Again, we had a correction in 2012 to 2013 or 15, and then continued on again. So this is the way to look at gold. You're not holding gold for short-term gratification. You're holding gold for long-term preservation of capital. That's why, of course, you have to hold physical gold and store it outside the banking system. So no one should worry about short-term corrections because these will happen continuously. We went into gold as a company.
It won't happen once we get rid of COMEX and their bullshitting derivatives and options. Once it goes and we are free market, you will not see these drops because nobody in their right mind is going to buy gold for $5,000 and sell it for $4,500. People who buy gold know what they have. I was buying mine at 1,700, 1,800. I won't sell it here because it's not anywhere near what the real value is. When I see a 10, I'll start thinking about it. And that's only if I need to, if I need the money. But silver is ridiculously cheap and it's all the same. It's all being pushed down by derivatives and options. It is not free market. It is not me selling to you because nobody would ever sell at this price. Right? China's going right to the mines and probably paying $75, $100 an ounce for the dory they pull out. They take it to Switzerland, who then makes the bars out of it, and they put it away in their vaults or in their swimming pools, like Putin does. That's what they're doing. Russia's doing the same thing. They're going right because there's no silver in COMEX and they can't get it out, so they go right to the mine and pull it out. So you guys trying to make money on these gold stocks, you got to be careful because they're not going to have a lot of inventory in their mine to really make their balance sheets go up. Anyway, again, he doesn't seem to get the, he doesn't seem to get what the options are, what trading places and the orange juice, how it's run by paper and not physical. Again, these are paper contracts, not physical. So why gold and silver are priced off the paper price is beyond me, but we love it when we want to buy more. We don't like it when the price isn't going up, but we can take advantage by buying more gold and more silver at these ridiculously low prices. So I'm surprised he doesn't get it. He says, yeah, there's after 2010 and they consolidated down, or 1980, and it went down. That's bullshit. That's just all market manipulation. That had nothing. Nobody was selling physical. Maybe there was some, but we've had inflation since 1971, and it's much, much higher than 2 or 3%. Right? $35 gold is now 3,400. It's hardly 2%. And it's not year over year. It's 1971 till today is inflation. All right, a little bit more of Egon.
And for our investors, in 2002, we told investors that you should buy gold for even up to 50% of your liquid assets and hold it, not to trade it, to hold it. So no one looked at gold at that point. Gold was, as I said, $300. And
I looked at
interested
gold.
in gold because it's been going down for
I looked at
20
gold
years,
since 1995.
and it was totally uninteresting for the normal investor. That's, of course, the time to buy an asset when it's unloved and oversold. But since 2002, basically, gold is up 10 times in dollar terms, from 300 to almost 3,000. As I have explained before, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down and all the other currencies going down. So
it is gold going up based on demand. If you didn't have demand for it, it wouldn't go up. I get the dollar's worth less, but that does not tell you the story of gold or silver. These are manipulated things. Okay. We can see Hershey's chocolate is now $5 for a bar. My dark chocolate's now $4.79 for a bar. Okay, I get it, but it's not the dollar going down. It's the demand for the if Coca-Cola goes to $3.65 and they can't sell it, it goes down. The Camry, they marked it to $35,000. They couldn't sell it. It went down to $26,000. That's not the dollar going down. It's the demand for bricks and gold and bricks that's forcing the gold price up.
People should not be concerned about short-term events when they hold gold. They should just think about holding an ounce, a gram, or a kilo, or more if you're a wealthy investor, and just think about the weight you hold. Because measuring it in a paper currency has no relevance whatsoever, because that paper currency is falling by the day, and therefore you might as well measure it in something else, like in hamburgers or McDonald's or in chickens. That gives you a better measure than measuring a currency which is being destroyed by the day and has so far fallen 99% since 1971. So what I'm trying to impress on you is that don't think about short-term events as important for gold, because they're not. It's the long-term mismanagement of the economy by governments and by central banks that has a major influence on the money in your pocket, on the paper money, and thus destroying it on a daily basis by debasing it. All gold does is reflect that, and therefore buy gold, put it at the bottom of your wealth pyramid. You don't look at the price daily. You just know that over time, gold is the only currency or the only money that has survived in history and will continue to do likewise, because at the current time, governments around the world are creating more debt and running bigger deficits than ever in history. So thus, it's such an easy investment. And really, if you want to sleep well at night, hold gold, don't look at the price for 10 years. You're likely to see it much higher, like we have seen in the last 25 years that we've been involved with gold. And as I said, the likelihood is that paper money will now be destroyed at an accelerating rate, which means that the move in gold will not be as slow as it has been, all those up, as I said, from 300 to 3,000 in this century. But we will probably see a an accelerating rise of the gold price to probably multiples what it is today. But remember, you're not holding gold for a price gain. You're holding it for wealth preservation, because most other assets, especially your paper money, but also a lot of other paper assets which are now overvalued, will lose substantially against gold in coming years. Thank you.
Tesla is
Well, what he's trying to say is gold is not stocks. You hold stock and you watch it, and if it goes up 10 points or 20 points, you sell it. All these Bitcoin people who have Bitcoin at $5 and now it's at 100,000 are out of their minds to not sell it. I don't know why you would still be holding Bitcoin if you, even at, let's say you bought it for $1,000, it's at 100 and what, 105. Why aren't you selling it? And then you can buy gold. As I said, I went to a gas station, there's these little ATM Bitcoin things. And I'm like, what's that? I mean, so what you're going to go in with $102,000 and buy a Bitcoin? Or is it to get the money out and, get the money out of it? I don't know. But it's crazy. It's not real. So I would avoid that. But I mean, as a gambler, you make money. You quit while you're ahead. That's the point of gambling. Build your bankroll. So if I'm playing poker with $300 and I get up to 500, I walk away with the 200. I'll play a few more hands. I don't just dead walk away. I give it a few more hands. And now I see 2-9 and 3-7 again. And then I get up and leave up to $300 or up $100. The point is you win. It's all about winning. That's the whole idea of gambling. And when people don't understand that, but if I'm in Bitcoin and it's up to 100,000, I'm selling, but you're worried it's going to go up higher. I don't know why. We don't even know what it really is. I would get out before it collapses. Gold, on the other hand, is not even near where its high is. So at 3,300, I'm not even thinking I bought it for 17. It's 3,300. I should get this. I bought it 250 an ounce. Okay, when it hits $4,000, this will be worth $3,000 because it's 18 karat. I have no thought of selling it and getting out and taking profit, because that's not what gold is. Gold, like Rolex, like Mano cards, are not. They're more assets. They're not investments are stocks and real estate trust and annuity, something that you put your money into and it makes some money and you get out of it. But that's not what gold is. Gold is you're getting out of dollars before they collapse, and then you're buying, and then the gold is going up. So we just let it go up. There's no reason not to. All right, let's see what else. What other goodies do we have? Let's look at a Stoic one here.
Want to build a real connection with someone? It's not about being funny, flashy, or impressive. It's about being present, honest, and real. 1. Put your phone away. Your full attention is the rarest gift. 2. Listen without fixing. Most people just want to be heard, not solved. 3. Drop the mask. Perfection doesn't connect. Vulnerability does. 4. Ask real questions. Skip the small talk. Dive deep. 5. Let them be. People open up when they feel safe, not judged. 6. Mirror their vibe, but stay grounded. Balance equals strength. 7. Speak with care. Your words either build bridges or burn them. And here's the truth. You don't create connection by trying harder. You create it by being so real, others feel safe to be real too. That's the kind of energy they'll never forget.
These are very, very.
So So there's a lot of Trump and China in here where he's just screwing up. But I mean, that's the real answer why gold and silver, why isn't silver up? Because it's all price fixed. It's all done on these options with JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, keeping the price down, which they make money on the options. But again, they only work until there's physical in the game. So as long as it's just paper and nobody wants delivery, this Ponzi scheme works. As soon as they want delivery, it's all over. Then that's what's happening now. Everybody wants delivery, and the Ponzi scheme won't work, and that's why COMEX is cracking, and gold's finally getting more where it should be, and silver's we're waiting for that to start, and that should start soon. BRICS, the 6th and 7th, we'll see what happens with them. So buy your gold and just hold it. Like I said, if you need some money, sell an ounce for 3,300 and go from there. As far as I can see, buy any ounce of gold. You're just trying to buy gold. Gold's 3,300 and 3,340, not U.S. gold or Canadian gold or Krugerrand gold. So to me, it might be more popular to buy U.S. gold in the U.S. Maybe you sell your U.S. first, and then like my Krugerrands and Maple Leafs later when the shit's really hit the fan. But that's just you got to understand that's the game. When you buy it, there is a commission. When you sell it, there's no commission. So if it's 3,400, I'm going to pay 3,500 for it. But if I need to sell it, I'm going to get 3,400, which is fine. The more you can hold it, it'll be gone. Then the more they'll pay. They'll start paying over spot. They'll need inventory, which they won't be able to get. And that's coming soon. And again, BRICS is our key. They demanding the gold and the silver. They know how important gold is. How we don't know is amazing. Are we this stupid here? I guess so. Anyway, any other videos or parts that I need to talk about? There was a big healthcare fraud. Let's look at this for a minute.
Neuropathy has no cure. Nerve pain is normal. Here are the 3 biggest myths keeping you from recovery. Medicare and Good
morning, everyone.
There's durable medical equipment, often for patients who neither needed nor received them. One retiree, a 73-year-old engineer named Gerald Quindry, received a $15,500 bill for catheters he never ordered or wanted. Multiply that by 1 million victims, and you begin to grasp the enormity of the theft. But this is not just about one criminal syndicate. The DOJ's takedown exposed a broader pattern, 1.1 billion in fraudulent claims for unnecessary skin grafts in Arizona and Nevada, often applied to hospice patients by psychiatrists and anesthesiologists, professionals whose expertise lies nowhere near wound care. Another $703 million scheme in Illinois used stolen Medicare beneficiary data and artificial intelligence to fabricate consent for unneeded medical products. So across these cases, the government seized $245 million in cash, luxury vehicles, and cryptocurrency, a fraction of the $2.9 billion in actual losses, with the rest prevented only by last-minute interventions. Yet the most damning statistic is this: over 50% of all fraud against the U.S. government comes from health care programs. Why? Because Medicare and Medicaid, which covers 68 million and 80 million Americans respectively, are a honeypot for opportunists. When you create a system with vast sums of money and minimal accountability, you don't just invite fraud, you practically subsidize it. What's worse, this fraud doesn't merely steal taxpayer dollars. It endangers lives. Elderly patients in hospice care, already vulnerable, were subjected to unnecessary procedures not for their health, but to exploit reimbursement formulas. Psychiatrists signing off on skin grafts, anesthesiologists overseeing wound care in mental health clinics. This isn't medicine, it's a racket, and it thrives because the system rewards volume over value, claims over care. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services estimates that 25% of its spending is wasteful. That's hundreds of billions of dollars annually, siphoned off not just by criminals, but by a structure that incentivizes inefficiency. Well, the question is not why this fraud happened. The question is why anyone is surprised. Oh, let us turn to the political theater surrounding this scandal, where the contradictions are as glaring as the fraud itself. Progressive politicians, Senators Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, and their allies have been vocal in opposing Medicare funding cuts currently under debate in the U.S. Senate. They argue that slashing budgets for Medicare, which serves 68 million Americans, or Medicaid, which covers 80 million, would devastate the vulnerable. Yet these same voices champion ever greater government control over healthcare, as if the answer to a broken system is to make it bigger. How can they reconcile their rhetoric with the reality that the very programs they defend are bleeding billions to fraudsters? If the government cannot manage the 1.2 trillion it already spends on Medicare and Medicaid, why should we believe it can handle more? Consider the hypocrisy. Senator Warren, in a May 2025 letter co-signed by Senators Sanders and Wyden, urged Congress to reject Medicaid cuts and instead crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare Advantage. Fine words, but where were these champions of oversight when a Russian-led network was looting Medicare for $10.6 billion? Where was their indignation when 96 licensed medical professionals, people entrusted with public health, were charged with defrauding the system they swore to serve? The Medicare Payment Advisory Committee estimates that upcoding in Medicare Advantage alone costs taxpayers $40 billion annually. Yet the solution proposed by these senators is not structural reform, but more government spending, more bureaucracy, more of the same system that failed to prevent this historic fraud. This is not reasoning, it is sloganeering. Ask yourself, if the government's oversight is so effective, how did a transnational criminal organization infiltrate dozens of U.S. medical supply companies, steal the identities of 1 million Americans, and siphon off billions before being caught? If central planning is
That was the
against it,
Russians.
why did CMS only prevent $4 billion of the $14.6 billion in fraudulent claims from being paid out? The answer lies in a simple economic truth. When you remove accountability, when you sever the link between service and payment, you create a playground for opportunists. Medicare and Medicaid are not disciplined by the profit motive as private businesses are. They are not answerable to the immediate consequences of failure. This is why fraud flourishes. The contradiction is stark. On one hand, progressives argue that government-run healthcare ensures equity and efficiency. On the other hand, the evidence suggests it invites waste and abuse. Why else does over half of all government fraud occur in healthcare? Because the system is too large, too complex, and too disconnected from the realities of supply and demand. A private company that loses billions to fraud would go bankrupt. A government program merely asks for more funding.
And that is why people like communism and socialism. They're really about the people at the top becoming rich and everybody else they don't care about. That's communism and socialism. That's why they don't like capitalism, because the people on the bottom can get rich too. You can go to school, you can work hard, you could make money without being on the top. Right? We're not billionaires. Well, at least maybe Bobby is by this point, but we can work hard in finance and IT and law and tennis rackets as Luke is, and you can make a decent living. But in communism, you can't because they steal all the money. And then just like this whole example, the healthcare issue where they're stealing money and they're faking patients going, and this whole Russian thing, the Russians faked all this stuff and got paid Medicare. They're not even Americans. And it just goes to the wrong people at the wrong place. And there's no checks and balances. And, just like USA, they all stole all the money. And this is the problem with government. We got a $37 trillion debt that we probably 3/4 of it's bullshit. What Biden did was probably steal. He did $5 trillion in spend. He probably stole it all. So there's no checks and balances on the government. This is another problem with it. That's why they didn't like Elon Musk. He was finding stuff. Oh, no, you're not supposed to find it. But because he was rich, he didn't take the payoffs. And that's why they don't like gold, because then it's limited. So this way we can just keep printing $1 trillion for for Medicare and Medicaid, and it just goes in, and it's all, see, everything's based on printing more money because there's no limit on printing it. This is where all the criminals come in and all the fraud comes in, but the people in charge don't want to change. They don't want a gold standard because then they couldn't do it. So we know gold's the answer because we know as long as they keep with this and they keep all these criminal things, this is worth nothing, which is the part of the equation they don't understand. When these guys come on YouTube, this Jim Rickard guy, they can print as much as they want. Ha, ha, ha. What a fucking idiot. And when you got guys quoting Jim Rickards, you realize they're idiots, Andy Schechtman. So these people do not understand that you cannot just keep printing it because nobody will want something that's printed, i.e. BRICS. Does not want the dollar. Japan's getting out of the dollar. Everybody's getting out of the dollar. Everybody's worried about getting manipulated and getting bullied and everything else. So the whole system has collapsed. They just don't know it yet, but we do. We know the boat's 90%. It's sort of like you're on the Titanic and you hit the iceberg and you're still, it's unsinkable. It's not going to sink. And at some point, the boat's 75% in the water. You realize it's going to sink. But you have to see it with your own eyes. You have to see that the boat's 75% in the water before you realize and panic that the boat's going to sink. And that's the way the dollar is. Since nobody's telling you, you don't believe that it's worthless. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face it's worthless, but you won't believe me. Until the stock market crashes, you won't believe that the stock market's going to crash. You don't believe that Bitcoin's going to crash. You won't believe it until it happens. Then you're going to go, professor was right. I didn't listen to him. Like I said, my friend in Florida is sitting there with his 500,000 or so in his 401k, not believing that it's all going to crash. Or, I got to pay taxes on it. Well, I'd rather pay tax and buy gold with it than hold on to the thing. Well, it's my retirement. Well, you're not going to have a retirement. You don't get it. But he won't understand until it crashes. So I can tell him what's going to happen, but he won't believe me. He's got to see it for himself. And until it happens, he doesn't believe it's going to happen. And you just shake your head at guys like that, if you hit an iceberg in your boat and water's coming in, you should be able to figure the boat's going to crash at that point. You shouldn't have to wait till the boat's 90% underwater to see, we're going to crash, we're going to sink. And that's, you got everybody selling the dollar, buying gold, BRICS buying gold, BRICS, everybody getting away from the FX bullshit with the dollar, everybody getting out of the petrodollar. At what point do you need to see that the dollar's crashed? I mean, that's about as simple as I could make it. So, I do like correlating these videos to say, take it back to the dollar. This is how corrupt it is. And this is why they want the dollar, not gold. But we know gold's the best. Otherwise, why is BRICS buying all the gold? Why does Putin have it in his swimming pool? Obviously, Putin knows about gold. He's got a gold train. He's got gold rooms in his house. He understands gold, but we don't, because we're so corrupt here that we got to do all this bullshit corruption, and therefore we have to keep going with the dollar, but you can't. It doesn't have a value. You got 37 trillion in debt you can't pay off. You got a budget where you're 2 or 3 trillion over budget, and you're still going to do it. You're going to keep spending, even though you don't have the money to pay it off. And your only answer is gold, but you won't do that because all the corruption is saying, no, we want dollars. And that's where we stand. So I will leave you with that. Let's see if there's anything else. So here's the one. I won't play it. U.S. halts weapons for Ukraine. Concerns over U.S. stockpiles. This was, I think, yesterday. So this Ukraine war should be over soon, because the only way it's been going is we've been giving them weapons, because they don't have anything in Ukraine. So we're giving them weapons, and with the weapons, they are, without the weapons, they can't continue. And so they'll have to surrender. And again, Zelensky likes laundering the money, doesn't want to surrender. But anyway, here's a stoic one. I won't play it now because I'm a little tired. Don't tolerate it from anyone, not even family, just people being rude to you, being disrespectful to you. If you let people be rude to you, and you can't tolerate that. You have to stand up for yourself. Now, you do it stoically, but you can't just let them take advantage of you, is the point there. So you have to not let somebody do that. No, I'm stoic. No. So when I hear from the guys in the hot tub about the communism is better and the owners shouldn't make all the money and I defend it because I have to. Since then, I saw that communist in the hot tub a few more times. I don't even look at him. I don't confront him. He doesn't say hi to me. He kind of looks at me, and I just ignore him. He doesn't exist, but I've already stood up for myself to say fuck off, and then he hasn't come back. So he realizes I was right, I believe, but there's nothing I'm going to say to the guy, because there's nothing I can say to an idiot. So there's a couple people like that who I have had to defend myself against. So, if somebody's cheating you, if your girlfriend or wife is cheating on you, you don't be stoic and not say anything. You then have to stick up for yourself. And, you can do it stoically. We don't really yell at them. You just go, well, enjoy. See you later. Something like that. You just off you go with it. But that's really the point of it. You must stick up for yourself stoically. Yeah. No, I'll play it tomorrow. It's behaviors that should not be tolerated. You got to stand up for yourself. Yeah, maybe I'll play it tomorrow. Anyway, I did the big 12 last night, so that video is out. And we'll do Conference USA. Tomorrow's July 4th. Happy July 4th, everybody. So I will be going up to the mall. I'll probably maybe go to the pool at 9 o'clock, and then the mall's open 10 to 4 or 10 to 5. So I figure if I can get there by, 11 o'clock, I don't know how much shopping am I going to do? A couple hours, and then just to get out and come back. So that's the plan for tomorrow. So I'll probably, I don't know if I'll do a class. We will see. Maybe tomorrow night, but I know everybody's going to be busy with fireworks and stuff like that. So probably won't do anything. I might, but I don't know. But if I do, it's just sticking a video out there. I might do picking the Conference USA or something because I want to get all those posted, and I still want to do the NFL draft. I haven't really. We talked about it, but I haven't really done my analytical on it. Again, baseball, we got Washington over 9.5, 2 units. Toronto over 8.5, 2 units. The 49ers, 2 units. The Dodgers over 9, 2 units. And Seattle under 7.5, 3 units. So we got 5 games. 3 of them are like 10 o'clock at night. So the 2, again, Detroit, they're stealing signs, so they should score a lot of runs. And Toronto and the Yankees have been cooking up. Toronto's been hitting. So look for Toronto to the Yankees haven't done their homework. They don't know how to get them out. So they're like, if they beat Max Fried, then Toronto says, shit, who's this guy? We beat Max Fried. And that's the analytical, psychological edge of it. It's like beating Mahomes. Like Lamar can't beat Josh Allen or Mahomes. And if he ever does, then he's fine. But Mahomes has the edge. He beat them. Like he couldn't beat Brady. And then he finally started. I don't know if he ever did beat Brady, but he won. He didn't have to. But he beat Manning a lot. Manning couldn't beat him. And so you have the mental things of Georgia couldn't beat Alabama, finally did. And then they won 3 titles. Oregon keeps choking. So you have football. You keep psychologically, you can't beat this team. Lamar can't win a playoff game against a decent team. And so that's in his mind. And they don't know what to do. And they added the running back, and they still don't know what to do. And that's it. I mean, you just Derrick Henry. And you still can't win because the problem's Lamar. He can't handle a big game. He can't handle a tough defense. He can do it in the regular year, but he's blown these leads against Oakland and Cleveland, 10-point leads in the fourth quarter. What the hell is that? So then they just get conservative and run, and he can't analyze, and he can't read defenses, and he can't read blitzes. And when the best way to beat Lamar is just blitz him. Come at the ends and blitz them and loops and stunts, and then he'll want to run. And they play these short zones anyway, where these guys are wide open in these zones. That's how they get down the field. But when they get in the red zone, it doesn't work anymore. The defense doesn't have to go back because the end of the end zone. So that's what happens. Anyway, let's take our last look at gold. It's gone up a little, 33.33, Mockingbird Heights. I don't know why it says market close. That's for tomorrow. The U.S. should be closed, but we'll see. And silver, 36.90. It's a great sign. Now we're Basel III. If we can get to 38, we're home. Then we get to 50. So we're really careful, really close, and it dropped into the 35, 80s, and 90s, but that's it. And now we're about to go, and that's going to make some banks very unhappy. So be careful. You're going to hear major banks close because they're fucked with their derivatives they shorted, thinking gold and silver are going to go down, not realizing brics is buying the shit out of it, and therefore they don't know what they're doing, which is what most people don't know what they're doing. So don't just believe something because somebody says it. That's why I show you the video. I'm trying to prove my point. You guys might believe me because I tell you certain things and they come true. I told you gold would hit 3,000 and it did. So you go, okay, he knows what he's talking about. And that's the point. But if some guy says something, oh, Bitcoin's going to 500,000, and you never heard this before and you don't know who it is, be very careful. check him out. Does he say stupid things just to get the press? And that's what happens. So be careful who you listen to, or bring it back here and let me analyze it and see if it's any good. Like Reichard's, the guy's an idiot. Andy Scheckman doesn't know what he's talking about. Alligator, I'm a little concerned about. Mark McGwire is usually fairly good, as is Egon. That's why I show you them. It's like, here, look, yeah, this is what is happening. I'm telling it to you. Now, I'm not telling it to you because I heard it from them. I'm telling it to you because I'm hearing it. Now, the brick stuff, I am listening to them because I don't have access to it besides listening to people. So that's where I get it from. But that's okay. That's who I trust. So when Mark McGwire says something, I believe him. All right. Anyway, have a great day. Have a great 4th of July. If I'm not on tomorrow, I'll be on Saturday. If something major happens, I will come on, like gold hitting 4,000, then I'll be on. Or silver breaking finally to 38, which it could do tomorrow because the U.S. won't be, I assume the markets are closed for July 4th. I know my buddy works at the DOD and they're closed today. He got today off and tomorrow off. So we will see. But anyway, have a great day. www.teaserking.com. And I'll talk to you. If I don't talk to you tomorrow, I'll talk to you on Saturday morning. All right. Take care, everybody. Happy 4th of July.